And it is so plain to me that eloquence, like swimming, is an art which all persons might learn, though so few do. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Anyone can learn to talk, but few learn to speak. Speaking requires thinking. Thinking makes speech more enjoyable to the listener. Good speech requires good thinking and good presentation. Good speaking demands good content and good delivery. These skills are teachable, and these skills can be learned by all, if given a chance. Good speaking is our currency. It's how we apply for a job. It's how we communicate our thoughts. It's how we persuade others to our way of thinking, how we encourage others, and how we voice our opinions without lowering our listeners' countenance. You may have noticed that as we advance in technology, we seem to have given up our ability to speak well, to debate well, and to defend our way of life. You will be watching several speakers as they present their thoughts and sometimes the thoughts of others before an audience. Some are speaking in competition, while others are presenting to polish their skills. One student speaks before a group of hospital leaders to persuade them that her classmates need the audience of hospital leaders to show the students how they work, what they do, how did they get their jobs, how do they keep their jobs, and what they might teach the children in the mentoring program she presents. By the way, over 15 professionals signed up to mentor her classmates. All of the speaking styles you will witness require work and persistence. These speakers are no different than your child, and your child can be like these children. We will not only tell your children how to speak well, we will show them because we know how it should be done. Almost 2,000 years ago, a great teacher by the name of Quintilian said that good writing makes good speaking, and that good speaking makes writing easier. As your child is taught how to present his or her thoughts in an organized manner, you will quickly realize that your child has grown in language skills. These learned skills are long-lasting and critical to their growth and success in life. These successes in speaking are easily recognized and will bring great joy to you, yours, and your child. Think about having your child become a part of this learning process. Enjoy the video. Picture your child exhibiting these same skills as these young speakers. It will happen.
Frederick Douglass was concerned about the lack of equality for all people. This included not only his own race, but also the equality of all people. Men, women, and all races in all countries. Frederick Douglass voiced his concern about the equality of women on many occasions. He had been, as we recall, a participant at the first Women's Rights Convention, held in 1848. Imagine being present and hearing Frederick Douglass talk of the equality of women more than 70 years before they were given the right to vote. Douglass rose to his full height and began. In our eyes, the rights of woman and the rights of man are identical. We ask no rights. We advocate no rights for ourselves, which we would not ask and advocate for women. Whatever may be said as to a division of duties and avocations, the rights of man and the rights of woman are one and inseparable, and stand upon the same indestructible basis. If, for the well-being and happiness of man, it is necessary that he should hold property, have a voice in making the laws which he is expected to obey, be stimulated by his participation in government to cultivate his mental faculties, with a view to an honorable fulfillment of his social obligations, precisely the same may be said of woman. It is shown the most which is expected of a young lady is that she will go home and do pretty little things to wear. Nothing more. This is all wrong. A woman should have every honorable motive to exertion which is enjoyed by man, to the full extent of her capacities and endowments. This case is too plain for argument. Nature has given woman the same powers and subjected her to the same earth. She breathes the same air and subsists on the same food, physical, moral, mental, and spiritual. She has, therefore, an equal right with man in all efforts to obtain and maintain elected to a position, what she desires, she must fight for. With her, as with us, who would be free themselves must strike the blow. The price demanded for this good is labor, self-sacrifice, the loss of popularity, loss of the good opinions of men. It is only when the desire shall transcend all these that the efforts will lead to success. Does woman think she can build a house and that is the best use of her time and the best applications of her strengths and talents? We say, let her go at it, and let shame fall upon the man who would hinder her, by word or deed. But woman must practically, as well as theoretically, assert her rights. She must do as well as be. Many women, all actively exercising the rights for which they contend, are proof against a world's sophistry and a world's ridicule. It is only in the heat of battle that bullets lose their terror. So as far as employments are concerned, the coast is comparatively clear, and woman can manage the matter for herself. But not so in the matter of voting. Men must do the work here. They must, like true men, batter down the thick walls erected against women at the ballot box. And let taxation and representation go together. We advocate women's rights, not because she is an angel, but because she is a woman. Khrushchev predicted, "We will bury you." But in the West today, we see a free world that has achieved a level of prosperity and well-being unprecedented in all human history. In the communist world, we see failure, technological backwardness, declining standards of health, even want of the most basic kind, too little food. Even today, the Soviet Union still cannot feed itself. After these 4 decades, then, there stands before the entire world one great and inescapable conclusion. Freedom leads to prosperity. Freedom replaces the ancient hatreds among the nations with community and peace. Freedom is the victor. Are these profound changes in the Soviet state? Or are they token gestures intended to raise false hopes in the West? Or to strengthen the Soviet system without changing it? We welcome change and openness, for we believe that freedom and security go together, that the advance of human liberty can only strengthen the cause of world peace. There is one sign the Soviets can make that would be unmistakable, that would advance dramatically the cause of freedom and peace. General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Good morning, managers and leaders of Highland Hospital. My name is Jasmine Orr. I am a 5th grader at Claire Barton School Number 2 in the city. There is a difference between administration and leadership. Administration is the ability to bring your department under budget, to make sure that the resources in your department are assigned in such a way to allow your department to work at its best. It requires that your constituents, patients and staff, get along with each other in harmony. Leadership, on the other hand, requires a moral commitment. It requires that you distinguish right and from wrong and take the course which is right. A leader develops a vision and then must be able to write about it and speak about it. He or she must then make this vision compelling enough for others to follow. This is what a leader does. You are all leaders. You are used to developing new ideas and seeing them become reality. I am here to share a vision with you that can help both you, your hospital, and children at my school. It does have to do with leadership. You see, we want to be leaders in the future just like you are leaders now. In the popular song, I Believe I Can Fly, there is a very true sentence. It goes, if I can see it, then I can do it. If we, myself, students at my school, can only see what you are doing here at Highland Hospital, we someday might be able to do it too. And someday, we may have what you have. Highland Pride. Mr. Babcock?
Blank sheet of paper, and that daunting feeling that comes with it. You twiddle your pencil as you try to search every nook and cranny of your brain for something, anything, to write a speech about. You have to write a speech, but what will it be about? The topic. When writing a speech, one of the first things you have to do is select your topic. Sometimes your topic is chosen for you. Other times you are given a general guideline of what to speak on. Sometimes you're allowed to speak on whatever you want. When thinking about what your speech will be, there are 3 things to keep in mind. 1, what are my strong points? 2, who is my audience? And 3, what is the situation? What are my strong points? Thinking about your own strong points will help you when choosing a topic. 3 main things you can choose a topic from are your own experience, knowledge, and interest. To start thinking of topics, get out a pen and a blank piece of paper. Write down as many ideas as you can think of, keeping in mind the following questions. Don't worry if some of your ideas seem silly. Write down what comes to your mind. 1. What are some interesting things that have happened to you? Do you have a silly, fun, exciting, or convicting story that people would enjoy hearing about? Write it down. Keep these stories in mind, even if you are thinking of speaking on a specific issue, such as freedom. Personal experience helps your audience relate to you and helps draw them into what you are talking about. 2. What are your areas of expertise? What you know a lot about or have a good amount of experience in can make a wonderful topic for your speech. 3. What do you have a strong opinion about or belief in? In other words, what are you passionate about? What you are passionate about, you will find most likely easier to deliver a speech on as compared to something you find boring. For example, if you are passionate about the issue of slavery, you can deliver a speech about it with feeling and conviction. 4. What are things that interest you that you would like to know more about? If your audience knows you are interested in a subject, they will be interested with you. If you are bored with a topic, there's a better chance your audience will be bored right along with you. Your attitude affects the attitude of your audience. With these questions in mind, do as I told you before and write down all possible ideas, remembering anything about your topic that has been assigned. For example, if you are told you need to choose a topic from the Civil War period, the questions we've discussed still apply. Maybe you have an expertise in sewing, so you would want to write about how people in the Civil War period made their clothes. Or maybe you are passionate about the issue of states' rights. You could speak on the causes of the Civil War. Who is my audience? The second thing you must consider is who is your audience. Who your audience is will help determine what you should talk about. For example, If your audience is a group of politicians, you probably wouldn't discuss something trivial such as making chocolate. If you're speaking to a group of third graders, your topic probably wouldn't be how your company needs to improve its yields. In other words, what is your audience expecting from you? What is the situation? Once you have considered who your audience is, you must next consider the occasion. What is your audience expecting from you right now? A pastor's congregation will have certain expectations from him in his preaching, but his topic will be different for Mother's Day than it is for Christmas. His congregation will have certain expectations depending on the occasion. Keeping these things in mind, go through your list and remove all topics that are inappropriate for your audience and the occasion. Once you have done this, keep in mind the following things as you narrow down your topic even further. 1. Put yourself in your audience's shoes. What would they find interesting? 2. Pick a topic that is both timely and timeless. Let me explain. You may not want to pick a discussion that has been going on for hundreds of years that no one has ever reached a conclusion for. That is useless for you and your audience. However, picking a topic which is recent, to which you can add no new information, is also useless. The best option is to pick a topic, even if it is something from the past, that can apply to the people you are speaking to right now. How much time do you have? Knowing the amount of time you have will narrow down what you speak on. Some topics are impossible to cover in a 15-minute period, while others can be covered in a 5-minute period. Select from your remaining ideas the one that best fits these criteria that you most want to speak on, and you have a speech topic. What next? I'll tell you in our next segment, which is titled Developing Your Style.
Now known as the Bahamas. He thought this was an island off the coast of India. Therefore, he named the native people there Indians, and he did so. Although Columbus is now credited with discovering America, despite the fact that he never realized he reached a new world, it obviously wasn't named after him. So, why is America called America? Well, after Columbus returned from his explorations, another Italian sailed to what was being called the New World. His name was Americus Vespucci. After his voyage, he wrote a book about what he had seen. People who read the book began to refer to the country as Americus' country. The title became shortened simply to America. The name finally stuck. And that is how our country, and result our country, got its name.
Good evening, honorable judges, fellow contestants, and guests. In 1783, the colonies had won their freedom from England. For some, it meant freedom. But for others, notably the 1,400 slaves living in the United States, there would be no freedom until the end of a second Great War. 80 years later, the Civil War. We move forward 71 years. The year was 1854. It was 2 years after the publication of Uncle Tom's Cabin. It was also 2 years before the Dred Scott decision. The Supreme Court decision that settled once and for all that a slave was only another person's property. For in those days, it was legal to own another person. Frederick Douglass, once a slave himself, now a writer, publisher, and orator, was living in Rochester, New York in 1854. He was asked to speak at the Independence celebration on July 4th about the importance of that day, freedom from England. Douglass accepted, but his speech was far from what the city fathers expected. Douglass rose to his full height and began. At a time like this, scorching irony, not convincing argument is needed. Oh, had I the ability, and could I reach the nation's ear, I would today pour out a fiery stream of biting ridicule, blasting reproach, and stern rebuke. For it is not light that is needed, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, and the earthquake. The feeling of the nation must be quickened. The conscience of the nation must be roused. The propriety of the nation must be started. The hypocrisy of the nation must be exposed, and its crimes against God and man must be proclaimed and denounced. What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all the other days in the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham. Your boasted liberty and unholy license, your national greatness swelling vanity, your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your denunciation of tyrants, grass-printed impudence. To the slaves, your shouts of liberty and equality are hollow mockery. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings, with all your religious parade and solemnity, hypocrisy. A thin veil to cover up crimes that would disgrace a nation of savages. There is not a nation on the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour. Thank you.
Way before that, in 1732, George Washington was born in Virginia and grew up on a place called Ferry Farm. He was a very hard worker, and he was helpful to his mom around the house and also on the farm. He had 3 brothers and 1 sister, and he also had 2 older half-brothers. Out of everyone in his family, he was closest to his half-brother Lawrence. Lawrence died, though, when George was only 20, and he was very sad about this for a long time.
Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural address, Washington, D.C., March 4th, 1865. At this second appearing to take the oath of the presidential office, there is less occasion for an extended address than there was at the first. Then a statement somewhat in detail of the course to be pursued seemed fitting and proper. Now at the expiration of 4 years, during which public declarations have been constantly called forth, on every point and phase of the great contest, which still absorbs the attention and engrosses the energies of the nation. Little that is new could be presented. The progress of our arms, upon which all else chiefly depends, is as well known to the public as to myself, and it is, I trust, reasonably satisfactory and encouraging to all. With high hope for the future, no prediction in regard to it is ventured. On the occasion corresponding to this 4 years ago, all thoughts were anxiously directed to an impending civil war. All dreaded it. All sought to avert it. While the inaugural address was being delivered from this place, devoted altogether to saving the Union without war, insurgent agents were in the city, seeking to destroy it without war, seeking to dissolve the Union and divide effects by negotiation. Both parties deprecated war, but one of them would make war, rather than let the nation survive, and the other would accept war, rather than let it perish. And the war came. 1/8 of the whole population was colored slaves, not distributed generally over the Union, but localized in the southern part of it. These slaves constituted a peculiar and powerful interest. All knew that this interest was somehow the cause of the war. To strengthen, perpetuate, and extend this interest was the object for which the insurgents would rend the Union, even by war, while the government claimed no right to do more than to restrict the territorial enlargement of it. Neither party expected for the war the magnitude or the duration which it has already attained. Neither anticipated that the cause of the conflict might cease with, or even before, the conflict itself should cease. Each looked for an easier triumph, and the result was fundamental and astounding. Both read the same Bible and pray to the same God, and each invokes his aid against the other. Now, it may seem strange that any man would dare to ask a just God's assistance in wringing their bread from the sweat of other men's faces. But let us judge not, that we be not judged. The prayers of both could not be answered. That of neither has been answered fully. The Almighty has his own purposes. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come, but woe unto that man by whom the offense cometh. If we shall suppose that American slavery is one of those offenses, which in the province of God must needs come, but which, having continued through his appointed time, he now wills to remove, and that he gives to both North and South this terrible war, as the woe due to those by whom the offense came.
Shall we discern therein any departure from those divine attributes which the believers in a living God always ascribe to him? Fondly do we hope, fervently do we pray, that this mighty scourge of war may speedily pass away. Yet, if God wills it continue, until all the wealth piled by the bondman's 250 years of unrequited toil shall be sunk, and until every drop of blood drawn with a lash shall be paid by another, drawn with a sword, as was said 3,000 years ago. So still it must be said, the judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all to may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations.